Are we live? Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Jared Wright. I'm a software engineer, an entrepreneur. I have been for quite a while. And I understand a few things about being a high functioning autist. And and listen, this video is not for the weak, it's for the strong. Okay. We're laying down the foundation for how you can gain independence, which I have personally to some extent. I have a social security number, guys. I'm not, when I say independence, I don't mean, you get what I'm saying. But when it comes to a entrepreneurial sense, I understand how to utilize the skills I've had as a software engineer for about a decade now, over a decade if you include internships. 28, started internships when I was like 16. And I've been able to know how to sell myself pretty well. And this video is mostly for the non-technical people who maybe, or for the technical people. There it is. Who maybe you're just not good at the basics when it comes to communication or when it comes to being able to sell yourself. And really, all it is being able to figure out your value and communicate that. But you gotta be, here's another foundational thing. Good boys don't make money. And we'll talk about that. Let me gather my thoughts here. Let's see, I have some notes. All right. So some givens. So here are like some givens here about who you are. And I understand. I totally understand. Totally understand. Let's say you're in a situation. The overall goal here, because there's a lot of people now who they're not understanding the macro market trends that are happening in tech. And they're reacting. You never want to be reacting to the market, right? You want to be an observer. You want to observe trends over history, and then you want to align yourself with outcomes that possible outcomes with risk involved. So if you look at the history of tech and software engineers, and like anyone who's been learning how to code now, basically the developing phase of software, of the internet, which is kind of the core center of software, but there's also obviously, app development and all this. The developing phase is largely over. And we're in a new phase, and that's okay. But you have a lot of skills that will be utilized in this new phase. It's more of a business to business relationship thing that you have to start to understand and figure out. Does that make sense? So one of the main reasons why I'm doing this is because there's a lot of people that are never going to make it past like $20-$30 an hour USD in their very skilled careers because they won't understand these basics, right? So let's talk about some of the givens, right? And there's many of you who will, obviously, but but I'm talking about not just through employment. I'm talking about essentially contracting, building products, selling services, whatever you want to do entrepreneurially, you have to understand how to sell it, right? Okay. So you're technical. This is you. This is you. This is who you are. This is you. You're a little autist. Okay, you got a big, wide head. You know why. Your eyes and your mouth is always agape. You're always mouth breathing. And you got a little top hat because you're retarded. This video is not supposed to be monetized. And I understand. YouTube, I respect that decision. I respect your decision wholeheartedly. I fully respect your decision to not give me money for this video. That's okay. I have other videos that you can give me money for, okay? But I get it. I get it. We don't make jokes anymore. All right. You want to sell, so you're technical. You have a top hat. You want to sell your talents rather than be sold. That's what you are. You're As an employee, you're not in, you don't have agency over your ability, which is okay. There's people that want that, there's people that don't want that, right? So another thing is you probably don't know how to talk to people. And I understand that. I hate talking to people. Talking to people sucks. It's like a game. But also I kind of do like talking to people at the same time. Like over time I've learned to be normal relatively. And it's fun sometimes, but every now and then you got to go back to your roots. And that's what I'm doing today. And I'm going to tell you the basics. So these are some things that's probably you, and we're gonna try to reconcile with this. We're gonna try to actually we're gonna try to get to the bottom of this. Okay, let's get to the basics. And these are some of the basics I use because I was in a position when I realized I don't want to have a boss. I'm pretty dang good at software engineering. People pay me to solve, since I was like a teenager, to solve these like problems because they don't want to do it. And I got to a point where I realized there has to be a way for me to kind of engage with the outside world. Like I have to be able to communicate these things, like communicate how I can get things done, and also be able to talk to people with new ideas. And I have my business. I should explain. Well, I have two businesses, but the one where I'm making the most money now is, or the one that is replace my job, quote unquote, is basically me just contracting and hiring contractors, delegating, which is where the passive income comes into play, to build for startups. So people come with ideas. I have a reputation, which I'll get into, which makes sales a lot easier, obviously. And also, I'm not talking about marketing yet, but I will like get into that. Obviously, this video for me is marketing. If you're okay with having an autistic programmer, then this video's, and you're an entrepreneur, this video is for you as well. But in general, like I'm going to be talking about sales, but I got to a position where I was like, okay, like that makes, like this is kind of easy actually. It's very easy for me to get opportunities. It is. I'm not flexing, that's just a fact. And I've always been able to get new opportunities, whereas like 99% of people with my skill sets don't, and they have to always lean on being hired, which is fine because I hire people like that. But when we get out of this VC funded, nonsense money world, uh, you're gonna have to learn how. Sales is really important, guys. It's really, you're gonna have to learn not just the technical side, but how to actually connect with the world. It's awesome that you do a lot of systems programming and you want to flex about that. Kind of doesn't matter unless you're able to at least work with someone that can translate it to reality, or you do it yourself. And you should be smart enough to, work with people that can do it themselves. Um, you don't want to be like, and also we'll get into networking because you don't want to be like because I see this a lot now, especially, I started this meetup, which like, for me, I thought that I was like trying to like help people out with the meetup. Turns out it's just a place for people to complain and take advantage. But it grew pretty popular. And one of the things that I noticed, it was like for tech people, was a lot of people would come and well, also I would notice this just in the tech scene in general now. And this is new, where you have a lot of people that are super, what's the best word? Like, just like they're really desperate. I guess that's the best way to say it. They're very desperate people, and the desperation is gross. And when you're desperate, you don't get anything. You know, uh, not needing things attracts things, and that's very important in this entire conversation. And one thing that I want to really get across is when I say that, really what I'm really saying is this is a really important point, is as an engineer type, you don't need to pretend to be a jittery little sales guy. You don't need to pretend, guys. You don't need to pretend. It's okay. You like, and because I know that that's like the when you go to like networking events or whatever, there's a feeling of like I need to pretend to be this like oh da 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 da. Like you need to put on a front to try to like talk. It's actually you shouldn't do that. So one thing is when networking and cold calling, yada yada, you do want to truly be natural in yourself. So like that's a really important part of this is that I'm going to say a lot of stuff, but at the end you do actually want to be yourself, right? You do want to be you want to because and this is a really big point that I think a lot of people don't realize is at networking events, the true genuine person that knows something actually, even if you're just a little engineer, that person is way more valuable than just the whatever real estate agent guy who has all these side businesses that's always seen. You don't want to be seen so much in a community at networking events because it shows that you're actually you don't make money because you have to be seen all like you have to be constantly be like your funnel is never fulfilled, right? um and then it shows a desperation because eventually it won't be you doing these things, right? You hire people to do it. And it's different if you start an event, by the way. I'm saying going to other events. So if you start an event, all good. But anyway, that's just a little networking side thing. But understand, as the high functioning autist engineer, you actually have more value inherently, but you don't know how to express it. And that's the problem. Because really, one thing I've learned the most this past couple of years is, and also doing this when I was younger as well, is most people. Well, two things. Most people can't do anything. Most, not probably not even 80-20, like 90-10. Most people don't know anything, so they have to lean on people who know things, and the people who don't know things know how to operate. They work in comms, they work, they do things to grease the wheels to deal with the external world. The people that know things are very limited, but they're dumb in a lot of these social ways, right? But most people don't know anything. The other thing is most people don't actually make money, even on the entrepreneurial level. Like you talk to a client, you really need to know who you're talking. And I'm going to get to this point once I get into talking. I haven't actually like talked about the points yet or the main points, but something that's really important is most people you're going to talk to don't have money at first. Eventually, everyone's going to have money, right? But at first, you're going to be talking to people that sound like they have money. And part of the skill set in sales, in this type of entrepreneur real sale, like I'm not going to give you, by the way, I'm not going to give you advice on like working the floor at a Best Buy or selling cars. That's a different video. I'm talking pretty specifically here about selling yourself and selling your skills as a technical person, right? That's the autist part. But yeah, so you have to know who you're talking to. I'll say this again and make a greater point, but the greater point is knowing who you're, and this is like hard for the autist because the autist is like, oh, the what in the going from point A to point B matters. Let me actually make this point. So this is the Autist Conundrum, right? And I get it, dude. I'm not above this at all. This is the Autist Conundrum. You got your top hat. Well, one problem here is that you have a fucking. Am I spelling conundrum right? I'm not. a real person, guys. So I don't know how to spell things. So the Autist Conundrum is basically, um, let's actually write it out like this. There's A and there's B. So the autist is really fascinated with how to get from point A to point B, the engineer. And there's so many different ways to get from point A to point B. Because really, when you're an indoor cat, when you're somebody who, you know, isn't very social, you're dealing with the internal a lot. You're actually very heady. Everything's in your head. So you're operating off of the world, the model of the world that you're given a lot because you're an indoor cat. The conundrum here, which is why many people fail, who are the smartest, most intelligent, coolest people, fail at entrepreneurial endeavors, is because they're so obsessed with getting from point A to point B the best way that they forget that most people have no idea what B is. Do you understand what I'm saying? Most people, let's say like 60%, not when I say most, I don't mean like crazy majority. Just making up numbers, by the way. We're guesstimating. Don't know what B is. And most like startups, most clients, customers, even if you have a product, they don't know actually what B is. It's a feeling. It's typically a feeling. Even like really when you're selling, you're kind of selling feelings genuinely. And I know people are like, oh no, it just that's not nice. I get it. You're gonna have an autistic freak out. Just relax, okay? But most people don't know what B is. It's a feeling, right? So most people, so actually, like, I'll say 95, 99%, vast majority don't know what A is. Okay? A is even more of something that people don't know. So let me bring this back to reality. So like someone comes to you with an idea for their startup or whatever, or an idea within a business, you still have to sell yourself within a company, right? That's super important. People will come to you with like ideas within your own company as an IC, and you have to be able to sell yourself to some extent. You do, and you probably don't know because you have a cushy job. But like this, selling yourself exists at all facets of the economy. But the A, people don't know where to start, and they always pick the wrong ideas. So that's a really important thing. People always start off with the wrong ideas. Always. But often we don't think this way. When technical people, engineer types, don't think this way. They don't think, they think that everything's just, there's a reason behind everything that's given to them. That's why there's this engineer anxiety that's always there because things just don't work. Often things don't work because you're working on the wrong ideas. The foundation's wrong. You can get from point A to point B in a million ways, but if their idea is fucked up, ideas matter a lot. A lot of people don't know this. The Chinese, they don't know that. This is why America wins, because America understands A. America has dominated A, where to start. This is called macroeconomic shifts. This is called like critical junctures in history and just in the economy. It's when you have someone be like, well, actually, we really need to lean on networking computers, something that isn't going to make us money right now. We need to invest in this thing and start somewhere versus figuring out like China is really good at getting from point A to point B. I'd say, dude, they might be better than us, but they can't figure out A. And the B is typically like most people can, like, you get enough people together, you can figure out where to go. That's a very social thing. figuring out where to land, but knowing where to start is super hard. And the reason why I'm saying this is when people come to you with ideas, when you're selling yourself, when you have to get out of the idea that you have to answer things. So don't just answer things immediately. Super important point. Like crazy important point, right? This might be the most, actually, in terms of the communication side, this might be the most important part of the video. I'll organize this in a second and clear this up, but don't just answer things immediately. And actually, you know what? Let me get rid of all this stuff so I can talk about this idea. For the chapters, I'm going to give myself a second here so I can find this moment in the video. So the answer things immediately. Learn how to say yes. Let's make some big points here. I'm just going to number these. You know, the numbers may not be legit, but I'm just going to start numbering stuff. So the first, these are like the main points that I kind of want to make here. These are like main points I want to make here. Learn how to say yes. So one thing I'd say, this is the main thing I see in entrepreneurial types that want to bridge that gap between essentially just being hired to do stupid shit, which is really the thing you want to evolve out of, because like you're working on shit that sucks mostly. If you're not, you're typically working with an autist that understands what I'm saying, and you're their servant. Really, like most people, if you genuinely are working on cool problems, there's a high functioning autist that slaved their way, that literally dug the path in order for you to actually work on something interesting with their bare hands. Okay, they had to actually bridge that gap in the world. Have some respect for that. You work for someone like a dude that you like, who's like a technical guy who has cool problems he's working on. You put some respect on that person because they had to actually like fight for that shit. Because dude, even myself, I've had projects that suck, that are like stupid, that I would work on for money, and I've had some projects that are awesome. You know what I mean? And now I'm at a point where I can just choose to work on what I want, I guess, this past year. But like in the beginning, I just work on whatever because it's like that's how you get the funds to launch. But I'm telling you, that's a hard thing to work on stuff that isn't stupid. But so this is a greater point though, because this is a point about openness. Most of the technical people are not open. You don't have openness. That's a big problem. Okay, so openness is probably the most important trait when it comes to opportunities. Like you have to be able to, and it's also a creative thing. You have to be able to creatively problem solve for people as you're talking to them. So let's say you're at a networking event, you have to creatively think of things they wouldn't think of. And that's a part of providing value when you don't have anything. You know, you have to be very sharp, but you have to be open to what they're saying. A lot of times so this is what typically happens. I've seen this too many times. You don't attract money. People with like high chip clients is what I guess, or blue chip clients, a better way to say. You don't attract these things, and you'll attract like stupid startups that are just going to abuse you essentially. You'll attract that energy because you immediately, when you're talking to someone, you get from that A to B conversation. You try to answer everything. So you're essentially just already starting off as like an employee. maybe is a better way to say that. So like there's a way to communicate business to business with people when you're trying to get a sale for like a client. You have to truly you have to truly be open to the problem and talk about the problem first. You try to provide solutions first. You're essentially putting on yourself that you're going to be the one to just be given something and do it rather than being someone that can own it. Does that make sense? Because someone who owns something has to be able to talk about the problem, go back and forth, debate, figure out why why the idea exists, not in like a testy way, not in like a criticizy, bitch ass way, but in a way that's like genuine and comes from a place of like wanting to help their business, right? So you have to be open. Learn how to say yes. You know, let's actually. I think that's the next point. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of the next point. So when I say learn how to say yes, I don't mean like say yes to the job, right? Because you all want to say yes to the job. I mean before that, when you're talking with people, when you're doing cold outreach, cold email, whatever, and someone says something that's kind of stupid, you have to like lean in that. You have to go with the flow with that. You have to flow truly. Like there's a flowing nature when it comes to sales where you kind of have to like be really open to what's happening and just flow with it and then find value. If you have a lot of backing, like you have a company that has like this is separate. This isn't what I do. So I'm not an expert on this side, but if you have if you like have a specific product you're selling and all this, you need to get to the point of like whether this person's going to actually like buy something, right? That's a little different. But when you have technical skills and you're selling it, when you're a craftsman, when you're like a landscaper or whatever, you're someone that has like a service type job, especially one that's highly skilled, you really need to be open to what's happening. And when you learn how to say yes, you're able to manage expectations. I won't make this a separate point. This will be at the same point. So like managing expectations is all about scoping and timing. I've been able to get more clients when I've been able to scope things and give them a proper amount of time for what they've given me. Sometimes that price, oh yeah, price. Sometimes the price is like a lot for them, but they're able to get perspective, right? And when you give someone who doesn't have your technical ability perspective, they're able to start problem solving themselves and to start saying, okay, well, if it's going to take, especially if you have the rep and they want to work with you, and you say, oh well, if this is going to take 6 months and this is going to be 100K over 6 months, and I gave you this big problem, okay, fine. Like I'll make it smaller. I'll make it bigger if that's something I can afford. I'll make it if it's 16K for 2 weeks, then I'll make it. Oh, like I have a 50K budget and like cool, like let's do more shit. Um, you have to when you say yes, you're able. Like I'll give everyone a timeline and a price, but only a few amount of people, or what I'm saying, only like a limited supply is actually going to be able to follow through. But that's fine. And over time, you get better at managing expectations because you know what you've completed, right? But that's a big thing where some people they miss out on opportunities that they could have had, truly. And some of them in the beginning are going to be great. I'm telling you, I've had some like shitty clients, but I've had awesome ones too. I've had really cool ones, and I've worked on some cool shit. Um, I also worked on some weird shit too. So like I'm telling you, like it isn't like not everything's perfect, but you gotta learn how to fail, and you gotta build communications because like everyone wants to have everything perfect, especially if you come out of college and you come out of just kind of working for people your whole life. You want everything to be packaged and perfect for you. You want the meetings to be set. You want to, like, as much as people complain about meetings, you want there to be someone that's thinking about setting up meetings, right? Even if you don't like the meetings. So we often want things packaged to us, but truly to get agents independence, you have to have the agency to be able to say, okay, where is the actual value here? Like when someone's talking to me, I it's like I have to be able to figure out if this is a viable business. Like that, like you have to somewhat put yourself in the position that they're in. It's a bit of an empathy thing. And you can't do that when you just assume that the value's already there, right? You know what I'm saying? You assume this is already a company. It's like, no, well, they're actually trying to make it, right? They're trying to figure it out often, especially if you're dealing with startups. But even if you're not dealing with startups, people are trying to figure out if this innovation campaign is worth it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so that's an important point. Let's see. Oh, true. This is a yeah, good boys. Um, good boys don't make money. Okay, so this is a basic thing. So like often we come with our own understanding, with our own moralism, our own high ground, our own quote unquote beliefs. It's really good to humble yourself when you're talking to someone. Let's say you're talking to someone and they have some weird crypto nonsense thing. And you're like, that doesn't seem moral or good. Say, okay, cool. Do you really know what this is? I'm always like at a point of saying, I'm not going to come with my understanding. I don't have to say yes in the end. I don't have to sign every contract in the world. But if someone's coming to me with a pretty shady idea, I don't just, if anything, I just follow along to be like, where is the fuck is this going? Often we try to be like little moral good boy soldiers in times that are not necessary. So like, and dude, technical engineer types do this all the time because you want to have the world perfect. The part of like architectural design is like you're so used to making things perfect, even in your code bases. Now people come to you ideas that you're like, oh well, that might destroy the environment. That might you don't actually you need to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? It comes from a posture thing of like a heart posture thing of like, do you actually don't judge too much in the beginning? In the end, you can choose to not work with someone. I've done this before. I've choose not to work with someone because of whether like gambling company, like some fucking degenerate thing, whatever. But in the end, you have to be able to like you have to be able to kind of go along with their idea and be like, okay, where is this going, and not be too judgy up front. Because there's also been times where I've thought something was bad in the beginning, but I was like, let me hear this guy out, and then I'm like, oh wait, it's actually like not fine. You know what I mean? So don't be too much of a moral agent here. Okay, like you're not saving the world. You can choose what to put your attention to. I would say try not to put your attention towards something that's literally evil and against your morals in the end. But don't be too judgy up front because you're not going to be open to anything because people are going to say crazy shit to you in general. If you're like selling your technical skills, by the way, that's basically what I'm talking about. Okay, cool. So, okay, yeah, this is a more important point actually. All right, so complexity is negative alpha across the board. What do I mean by that? If you ever try to sell complexity, ever, sell it. I don't mean communicate that you understand it. That's different. Flexing is different. But if you ever try to truly sell complexity, you are always at a disadvantage in the market. Whether it's you as the autist selling yourself, or if it's as a business selling a product, right? Complexity doesn't actually grease any wheels. Money and complexity don't like work together. People like, exchanging things quickly for ideas that make sense to them. Exchanging money quickly with ideas that make sense to them. So often what happens is we overcomplicate things. I do this, and I have to stop myself from doing this. So I'm not above this at all. But we often make things too complex in that A to B conversation, where we don't even like we can waste time. We can actually be already like a bad employee, already like a bad client, or a bad business partnership. We can like start off the business partnership bad because someone came with us an idea that they're passionate about, and we overcomplicated it, and now they don't even like their idea. You have to actually provide value to people when you're trying to sell something. You're trying to make their life simpler. If someone comes to me with an idea and they want something to get built, they should leave the conversation thinking with a clearer head. They should think, well, this is more possible now, and it's very simple, actually. And guys, I've like messed up with this, which is why I've had times where I've communicated things, made things too complex, and the person was like, well, I won't even fucking do this. Where that's not the right way to do it. You know what I mean? There's always a right way to do things. And you have to you have to clear their heads. If someone is and a customer as well, if someone's like, oh wait, I want to use your product, but like I have all these things I want to do, it's like, okay, cool. Well, our product does 3 things. Here are the 3 things. You know what I mean? Communicate things in like what I'm doing now, in like lists, in these like axioms. Say like, okay, well, an engineer is good at 2 things, right? You have to simplify concepts. You have to get to the first principles, right, of what something is, and you have to communicate that. Don't just think of the end-to-end details, or you can think of that, but don't communicate that, because the point of why you're in this business engagement is because they don't understand details. The people that are unable to simplify detail and they're too heady about the details are the ones that are always used. Respectfully, you will be used for the rest of your career, and you'll hate it. So like people in that position always get used and abused because they're not able to, because people will hear what they say. Like if I'm a business owner and I hear someone saying like how they're going to get us from point A to point B, and they're like saying all this shit, I'm like, okay, cool. I can't ever work with this guy directly. I have to have him managed. That's a fact. Like that's like if there's any big point that you want to hear here, or any important point that you want to take home with you, it's that often we bucket ourselves as low workers because we were communicating that we need to be managed. You're like a little slave. It's true though. Okay. So, oh yeah, this is a really important point. Hold on a second. I don't want to make too many points here. All right, let me get my thoughts together. Yeah, I think these are the 2 most important points, like that I have on my list, right? Okay, so I have 2 more of these like axioms, right? But yeah. I already talked about it. I'm going to reiterate this. Okay, so networking is actually easier for the autist. You want me to blow your mind? Networking is actually way easier for the technical autist who knows things than the soft skilled loser. But the soft skilled loser, the autist Chad, gets less opportunities than the soft skilled loser. Because I do want to get visuals for this with the Chad thing, but it's just going to take too long. Should I just get visuals for that? Hold on a second. I just think that's so funny. Can you see Chad? Let's see. Can I just paste this in here? No. It's so funny because it's just so true, you know. I gotta like upload a thing here. That's so stupid. Let's see if I can do this. Nope. Okay. See what I did? See, I'm losing the flow, so I can give you memes. Okay. Let's see. Chat JPEG. It's not like actually a big deal. Is that showing up? I think it is. So all right, so the Chad autist is so fucking funny. So the Chad autist, and then what's like the loser Wojak? Like the crying Wojak. You're crying Wojak. Yeah, this one. Crying. Okay, so this you want to know a basic networking thing that you want me to destroy your foundation with the networking? I want to completely destroy your foundation. You think networking is for the soft skilled losers, right? For the don't know anything jabroni. For the what is it? I'm thinking about a dude like a dude with like slick back hair from like from Jersey Shore. Anyway, how do I import this again? Okay. So a little break so I can get these memes up. So soft skilled loser, soft skilled beta. Okay. So the soft skilled beta is my thing covering this, by the way. All right. Well, hey, what's up, Gus? All right. So networking is easier for the autists than the soft skilled losers. Why? Because the thing is the autist doesn't understand. That's why they don't go to the networking events. They don't actually call. They don't email. They don't do these things because they think that you got to be like this soft skilled, you know, soy face like guy in order to get opportunities. Because opportunities is all about attraction, right? What's a core feature function of attraction? One of the most core features of attraction is that what is in a limited supply is in higher energy if it's valued, not if it's like a limited supply of poop on the ground is not attractive. But it's attractive to people who like poop, who are fucking weird, right? But you get what I'm saying. Things that are in value in limited supply are attractive. They don't need to be sold as much, right? So what you think when you go to the networking event is you got to be like, you got to get the slick back hair, and you gotta wear the Versace, and you gotta have like I don't even know what's like a perfume that like you gotta wear like Tiger perfume. No, 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 no. You come as you are. Truly, the soft skilled beta has to go to the networking event. You actually don't. Think about this genuinely. Many people now, especially in the West, have been trained to be these communication operators. They don't know anything. They can't go anywhere else. They have to go to the networking event. They have to be they have to be posturing, they have to be wearing the right clothes and doing the right things because they operate in between what has value. So no, simply knowing how a computer works, simply knowing how jet fuel works, simply knowing these things, like how I added the jet fuel, but like simply knowing these things puts you at an advantage. Really, truly, truly. Um, and that advantage in the market, and we're talking about the market, is the fact that you kind of don't need to sell yourself as much because you come as you are. So the problem you have is you just don't know how to talk to people and you don't know how to initiate anything, right? That's the main thing. But once you get over that hump, you're a commodity. I mean, you're a valuable commodity. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Yeah, brown noser. Are you saying that in the chat? Are you saying that the trend is more people warm their way into positions? More people don't have an anchor. So the soft skill beta doesn't have an anchor. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like I'm talking about they don't have anything to fall back on. They're at the whims of the market, right? So they have to become agents of the market. You don't have when you know how to do something, you're not when you know how to weld, you're not really an agent of the market. You're more so an agent of, like you're more so in the world of productivity where you have to either produce more. You're not in the credit world. So it's like I'm not going to get too into this, but the economy basically runs on productivity or in credit, right? In terms of what is valuable and what increases the dollar and all that. Credit is basically is the soft skilled betas world. Productivity is the Chad Autist world. So credit is what is created when things are exchanged, when things that are valuable become exchanged, right? The Chad Autist builds it, the things that are valuable. So what I mean is if you can't actually build anything, you're always operating in the exchange. You're always operating in credit. That's why you have to wear the suits. That's why you need the perfume. You get what I'm saying? So like, and that's fine. But I'm saying because we need that, and you need to learn how to play that role. You need to buy a suit, by the way. Not speaking to anyone directly, but like we all do. We need to have that. We need to have the ability to do both. But I'm saying often the Chad Autist doesn't understand that the networking for them is actually like a lot simpler because you actually don't need it. It's all about when we talk about attraction and law of attraction, it's all about what you need. Like it's all about what you want, what you think you need, what you think you need. Because actually, what you actually need does get attracted to you. Food, clothing, all these things. But you start wanting shit. You start wanting the hot girl, the hot car, the big house. You start wanting these things. The more you want these things, the more it'll flee from you. You have to truly not give a fuck. Truly. And once that happens, these things get added to you. So that's that's the fairness of the world. So like the Chad Autist has that because that Chad Autist doesn't truly care, right? You have to truly not care when you're operating in the world of the dead, which is the market, which is the world of credit and debt. Like when you're talking with a business owner, when you're out in the world in a suit and you're talking, you're shaking hands, and you got your, it's all vanity. You do the firm handshake, blah blah blah. You're operating with dead in the dead. There's nothing's alive there. Um, but when you're in that world, you have to truly to attract things. You have to truly be detached from what everyone else wants, and then you yourself become something that is of value. Because people are like, why the fuck does that guy not want the yacht? We all want the yacht. You want to know the fastest way to get a yacht? Not want a yacht. Okay, so does that make sense? So it's basically yeah. Well, by the way, it's not just, I will say this, it's not just about learning things. The Chad Autist, this is the negative side of the Chad Autist, is the Chad Autist gets to a place where they are like, they think that knowing things is the thing that'll help them. So you can just know everything in the world, all the details in the world, and as I was saying, either not do anything with it or get abused. Basically, those are the two options. You lose your frame by trying too hard, or you get to a point where you're just abused by people. So like um, the chat autist gets abused very quickly because they provide answers for everybody, for all the people of the dead, the suits, and they don't understand the game. So like there's a game when you're going and you're talking to a quote unquote suit or whatever. If the soft skilled beta, um, when you go and you're talking to them, there's a way of talking. There's a way of introduction. There's a way of like how you talk about what you do and what they do. And when you're immediately providing these answers and putting yourself into the box, you're immediately essentially saying like, give me work. You give me work, which is fine if you want to do that. But you have to understand that like often people get in these boxes where people set their price. You set your price. You give an idea. You give I said this before for anyone who's joining, but it's like you give the A. The Chad Autist is like always focused on getting from point A to point B. How do I get from point A to point B, point A to point B? But they're always given A. And they're typically given B too. You have to get out of that thinking and try to, and when you're talking to like a customer, client or something, be like, okay, this person's giving me an A, like a starting point. Is it like, let's figure out what that is as men, like speaking as two business owners, because when you start saying, oh, well, yeah, we just get you from point A to point, like, that's fine. You can do that. But often you'll never be in a position of strength when it comes to your price. Does that make sense? That's where we get from partnership, from being an individual contributor to being in partnerships. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, yeah, wanting something so bad is an act of desperation. Something I learned when I was single: just spit game and move on. You get hits, you get hits. If not, you move on. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's the same thing. If you want something, like, yeah, with women, it's the same thing. If you really want her, you're not going to get her. Promise you. And if you do, it'll be because of vanity. It'll be because of the world of the dead. It'll be because you have money, because you have like a lot of. She has no friends. You have friends. You have like vain things. When you operate in the world of vanity, it's all about vanity. You look smacks, you will definitely get a girl who likes a good looking guy, right? But attraction is different. Attraction isn't about looking good. Attraction isn't, I mean, I'm saying pure, like, understand what I'm saying. Obviously, you need to be like good looking, right? In the dating world. But what I mean is the core of attraction, like the core, there's a root to it. Those things are building blocks, right? Those things are on top of that. But the root of attraction isn't actually about anything that's vain at all. It's a base. That's why you'll get a dude that's like ugly, stupid, not even like that good at talking, but the peacocking shit works for him. Or like he's an artist and he's like troubled, and that works for him. Those types, those like troubled artist types with like that type actually gets laid more than often the best looking, everything's perfect guy. Even like the money. When we're young, like in like 20s and 30s, I guess. But like obviously 40-year-old, you can't fucking play that game anymore. You know what I'm saying? But the same thing goes for this. It's like they're just you need to be special on the spectrum. This video should actually be called On the Spectrum. I should call it how to get yourself off the spectrum. That's actually funny as shit. How to get yourself off the spectrum. Does that make sense? So like, all right, yeah. It's like yeah, like the that's why the looks max thing is fun. It's like when you do that, you create your odds, right? Just understand like what like that like I feel like people often, especially kids, like teenagers, are often like they're thinking of value the wrong way in terms of dating and business and all of this. They're like they just only increase their odds and focus on that, but you have no root. Increasing your odds is great and that's smart, and that is how you increase your luck. But if you have no root, there's no like core of it. You'll always have fleeting relationships and business interactions. Like so, like the root is like, are you genuinely special? Like, are you genuinely the best at what you do? If there's no root, it like, do you actually know how to code, right? Like, do you actually know marketing? Actually, like not like just like did you like learn watch some YouTube videos, right? That's the root. Once you know something, you're automatically in a limited supply. Even now with coding, there is like a truly having an understanding, not just you can master every lead code in the world and not have an understanding. Truly having an understanding of software puts you in a limited, it does put you in a limited supply. Then after that, you can wear the suit, have the nice profile, start marketing, start, operating in the world of credit, be the soft skilled beta Chad, beta alpha, sigma, whatever. You can do that after, but if there's no root, then you'll always be getting things. You will be getting things. Same thing with relationships. If you're not actually like a real man, if you're not a real person, you'll constantly have these 1 year, 2 year. You might be getting the most beautiful, attractive woman in the world. You're not getting a wife. And if you do, you're getting probably taken advantage of, fucking divorce courts, all that shit, because there's no root. Like you understand what I'm saying? Like that's why a lot of people, they have these just fleeting relationships, fleeting business relationships. Yeah. So the 6th point here is, let's see. So this is obvious. That's why I talked about point 5 more. So like this is just an obvious thing. So I don't want to get too much into this, but you have to build a reputation. Okay? Like I know that that's obvious, and it's about more than social media. The marketing, so like the YouTube stuff, I've gotten with a limited amount of subscribers, like nothing subscribers, I've genuinely gotten like career, like what would be enough money for just like one client, or I guess 2 from the YouTube. How many have I gotten? Actually, I don't even know, because I use it as a, like some of these videos as a resume. So I guess most clients, but I can point out 2 that together made up a software engineer's salary for sure. Even though I'm pretty sure I delegated them, so I wasn't like really coding on them. But like, yeah, definitely. Oh no, one I was coding on that a lot actually. But either way. So like, but I've had like the YouTube has gotten me things at such a small margin. That's a really or small like community. That's a really basic way. But what I have done, the rep that I have the most in is like people in my literal community in the city that I live in. Constantly getting people referring me through friends, and that's how I've been making money pretty much ever since I made the choice a few years ago to be fully self-employed and not have a boss. It's always been like people coming to me, and then I can delegate and I can have a team, or I can have like a contractor and somebody, legally a contractor, uh, to help me because I have a rep on the back end of it, of like people respect my ability to code and all this and my understanding of systems and all this. Generally, every now and then there's the guy who thinks he's special, but generally throughout my career, engineers have come to me, like peers have come to me for advice of things, and I come to them for advice. And when people come to you for advice and you come to them for advice, you build a rapport with them. So I can hire pretty easily. I can get in partnerships pretty easily, and I can also get opportunities easily because I'll show my work a lot and I'll communicate that a lot. Does that make sense? So like the wait, guess what did you say? Because my boy is a broke hood Mexican dude. Homeboy has three baby mamas, all of them college grads. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you don't actually need to. That's so funny, dude. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, when it comes to the dating side, it's so funny. People they keep trying to increase odds, but they have no like they're playing against the house, right? You know, that's the way I look at it. You got to have actual value, right? Then you increase the odds. But there has to be a root. You're just maxing for everything. But does that make sense? So you have to build a rep. You have to build a rep. Um, cool. Yeah, and this is all based on decade of experience, being a software engineer, self-employed for at least half of it. So yeah, this is something where this is my life. This is my truly my life. And the rep is super important because the reputation is like, see that almost like your points. Like see like opportunities is you have to actually like you're divvying up points in like a point system. You can run out of points. See it as like every time you complete something, you get like 200, 300, whatever amount of points. If it's a big name company, it's a lot of points. You can give in over time, the points decrease. It's like money, it's like cash. You put cash in the bank, it's automatically decreasing in value, especially with interest nowadays. Interest is like not anything right now. So like, um, so when you are building up your rep, building up your point system, you're able to divvy these up, and you're able to sort of use that to get something. And then once you get the opportunity, you get more points back. You should be getting more points back. That's why it's good. Many people stay in the building a rep is when you're talking with people, you have to talk about your rep. That's why I'm adding it into to the sales. Because building rep is a general entrepreneur thing. And I'm going back and forth between entrepreneurship and like in sales, I guess. But you have to have a rep to divvy up. You have to at some point. It's super important because a lot of people get stuck because they don't build a rep, or they build rep, small about a rep, and they get opportunistic gains. So you'll get your points from working on some website that was like, okay, maybe you made 15K from some Shopify store and you feel really good. you'll use that money and use that rep, to go and get the same fucking thing, which is fine for a time, but understand, what did we just talk about? It's like a depreciating asset, right? So you're in a losing game when you do that. Eventually you will lose that game. So you have to be upgrading. You have to be finding, higher quality things. You get the same opportunity over and over again, you'll actually lose. You will lose. You have to be constantly getting higher quality, higher, chip clients, things like this, so that you can get more and more rep. And if you are going to do the thing where you're just doing the same thing, then you're going to have to delegate. Like, you just have to. You're putting yourself into a box where you have to get where you have to hire as quickly as possible. When you do the land grab, this is an entrepreneurial. This part is a little less sales and more strategy type entrepreneurship. When you're just getting the same thing over and over again, you will force yourself to have to hire as quickly as possible, and you don't want to do that. You do want to hire, but you don't want to force yourself to hire as quickly as possible. Does everyone understand the calculus of that? It's all about, think about, when we talk about calculus, we talk about what we're counting over time, right? So if we're counting every single time we complete an opportunity or fulfill a customer or whatever, or client, or you build out something for a client, you get rep points. That depreciates over time. Okay, so if you're not getting more points that you put in, then eventually you will have to have someone in parallel operating in the same way, or some system in your operation that operates in parallel the same way. It's the only way you can scale and grow. And eventually you get into a trap where you keep having to do that, right? So at some point you do have to get higher quality people. Does that make sense? So, all right, cool. Now, I love this visual right here. This is so fucking funny. This is such a funny visual. Let's remove this. I have more. Yeah. I have like general entrepreneurship stuff. Hold on a second. So yeah, like, have a script. That's pretty. I mean, that's like don't be too nice and gay. That's true. Yeah, you should automate, but we're speaking generically here, right? Okay, let the conversation flow. You probably don't ask. Yeah. So there's another thing. Okay, yeah. Let's actually talk about conversational things for the autist. This is for autists. You know who you are. Okay. So conversational notes. Start with the script. Starting with the script is super, super cool. I've done this. Eventually you don't need it, but it's funny. Eventually you'll lose quality. So it's probably better to always come back to it. As an engineer type, you probably try to answer things too quickly, for sure. Okay. And there's also a good chance, like, on the flip side of that, you probably don't ask enough questions. Okay. Because often what I see and this is the reason why a lot of people who want to do it, because people will come to me like, I just had a consulting call where this guy's like, he wants to get in. Well, it was like for a friend, so it wasn't like it was a pro bono thing, but like he wanted to know how to like get clients and all this. And one thing that I tried to make clear is that and I've talked about this entire video, is that you have to really truly understand the problem that they're talking about, and how, like, because like you have like you when you start answering things too quickly, you start making assumptions, and you start building a relationship like that. You want to build the relationship of, actually, you need to find the core problem that they're doing, shed light on that, and then tell them a simple way for it to be done. Does that make sense? So you have to actually clear their minds. When we try to answer things too quickly from a technical point of view, from the autist point of view, you're communicating with a different language with them that they understand. So they think things are too complex. Excuse me. Oh, super important. Show value quickly. So like the engineer autist type who thinks he's a special boy will show value quickly by saying a lot of complicated things, technical jargon. That may work with another autist. That, for anyone who actually has a business, that doesn't work, right? So don't just assume people are stupid. Don't assume soft skilled beta is actually stupid, dumb, because they're not, right? Like most people who have businesses that are successful are not stupid. Let's see. Hey, what's up? Cool. And by the way, ask any. I'm not against soft skills. What the fuck? I'm actually explaining soft skills the entire time. Did you watch the video? Or are you just coming in trolling? This is a joke. Obviously, I don't think. I'm actually explaining to you that soft skills are important, and how to use it for your advantage. Obviously, I don't think autists are all chats. Most aren't. This is a joke, guys. How old are you? Let's see. But yeah, like, don't assume soft skilled beta people are actually dumb, right? Okay, does this not seem, do you guys actually think that I'm saying every soft skills person's a beta here? I thought it was a joke. All right, so yeah, don't assume they're actually dumb. So what that means is when you're communicating them, don't like, often we provide answers super quickly because we think we're smart. So don't lean on your own understanding, right? That doesn't mean don't have respect for your opinion, right? Like, your opinion matters. That's why you're in the conversation. But what matters more is how they understand their business in the beginning. And oh, dude, this is a really important point. And this is actually controversial. This is controversial. I know this one. I'm not saying. Really think about this point here, right? Knowing who you're talking to is more important than knowing what you're talking about. That's true. That doesn't mean knowing what you're talking about isn't important, because that's the root. But in the conversation, it does. You have to know who you're talking to. If you're talking to someone who is truly an entrepreneur, you have to communicate with that person. And this is a humbling thing, because we often assume if you're a technical person with all these skills, you're the autist. the chat autist, you often assume that you know what you're talking about too much. So this is about a posture thing, a heart posture. You're coming in with thinking you know what you're talking about. Who are you talking to? You need to understand this first. This is the point of what I'm saying. You do have to understand who you're talking to first. Um, because then you're able to actually understand, uh, gain their understanding. And then what you know, so what you actually know will start to flow out of you. So, for an example, if someone's coming to you with, like, you're at a networking event, you're starting to start a data engineering consultancy, something like that. Someone has a idea for some AI agent workflow thing, and they have, let's say, they already have you know 50K MRR or something like that. So they have a fairly legitimate business. That's what it is. That's the underlying of what's happening right now. But you talk to this person and you don't see how much money they're making. You don't even know that they own the business. They could just be talking to you about data engineering. But what happens in this situation is often the data engineering consultancy guy who doesn't have any fucking clients, doesn't have a business, who actually is dumber than this person because they aren't as good at business as this person, will start, because they think they know what they're talking about and they know more than this person, will start to kind of uh, talk at this person and answer and answer and answer and answer, when really they should have found out who the fuck this person is, and that this person could have easily been a client customer for them. So know who you're talking to as the priority. That doesn't mean know who you're talking about isn't important, right? I'll just make a point of that. That's I should make things clear. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's not important. I'm talking about priorities, right? You have to know who you're talking to in order to make that line of exchange. Okay, I got you, RPG. I got you. Hey, what's up, DG? My internship, not even paid, is beating the shit out of me. We could talk about that. DG, I don't know if you're still here, but okay. So in the chat, someone's like, my internship, not even paid, is beating the shit out of me. Okay, so I feel like I've made like a lot of streams about this. Maybe I should make another one. It's a lot to say there. So first off, don't do not paid internships. That's really fucking stupid. You shouldn't be doing that. It's not going to look good on your resume. Um, as of now, loading up internships on resumes basically doesn't work. Uh, there's okay. So right now, okay, this is a quick aside. We're gonna talk about software engineering for a sec. We're talk about software engineering, the job market for a sec, because I feel like the fact that people still do not. I didn't even know that people still do that, but the fact people still do not pay it. Let's just talk about that for a second. Okay, so like the av- I don't. This isn't actually real data, but I've seen a lot of these job postings. The data behind it, I don't know the averages, but there's mid-level junior level software engineering roles that, in the U.S. at least, that are 50 like thousand, like 10,000 fucking applications to them. Do you think most don't have internships? Or let's say, okay, fine, 10,000. Do you think 2,000 don't even have any? 3,000, 4,000, 5,000? My point is, people often do in tech, people often do the non paid internships because they think it'll provide value to their resume. The same way people would do indentured servitude so that they could get room and board, or that they could pay off a debt back in the old days, right? So And I'm talking about this because someone in the chat has a not paid internship. So like, think about this for a second. You're actually not getting anything. You're literally a slave. That's so indentured servitude is above a tech, like a non-paid internship in the medical field. Like if you're trying to be a doctor, most of them do non-paid internships. That's or at least it seems like that. At least when I was younger, it seemed like most of them would do. They work at hospitals and not get paid, but there's a clear track. At the end, they know they're going to get some value back, right? So that's not the case for computer science at all. Okay, so like, sorry, DG, I know I'm kind of getting on you a little bit, but you got to quit the job. Okay, that's crazy to be in a situation where you're not getting paid and they're beating the shit out of you. You're not getting paid. You have some tech, assuming tech internship that you're not getting paid for that isn't going to provide value to your resume, and they're beating the shit out of you. So like that's a horrible life. Okay. Yeah, employers only care about paid work. True. You understand? So like, yeah, that's not, you don't want to have that life. That's a horrible life. Okay. Anyway, let's go back to um yeah, guys, get paid for your work. Unless you have a clear track, only ever get paid. Especially, oh dude, I haven't talked about equity. This is just a sales thing. So um I'll do like a general entrepreneurship one, but like um I didn't talk about equity. Don't get paid in equity. Okay. That's a separate thing. That's not helping you at all. Unless, okay, you know what? I'll say this. Unless you know that if you're creating designs and stuff, if you're like a designer and you know that the design will like look really good for your resume, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you know that if you know the result will be more rep points. Ah, dude, it's still not worth it. You got to get paid, guys. It's not a business if you don't get paid. Don't get paid in equity. Don't get paid in equity. Getting paid in equity is like loser shit. Talk about Chad Beta stuff. Like that's the most beta shit ever. Get paid for your work. Um, sorry, DJ. I'm not calling you a beta there. You're doing internships, so I'm assuming you're like a kid, right? Or you're in your early 20s, late teens. So you know, it's fine. It's fine. That's fine. We paid our internship, but they always got paid. Good, good. It's fine to get paid shit, by the way. Getting paid minimum wage, 15 an hour for an internship's fine. In tech, it should be more than that. It should be like 25 to 30, 20 to 30. If you're getting paid 20 an hour in tech, like in USD, it's not good, right? So unless you're an internship, it's fine. And just should I say it's like 15 to 30. A lot of people also, they don't know prices too. One really important thing about the sales thing is you have to learn about your price. You have to learn about how much you have to price yourself highly. Like, you know, and it's not going to match your salary. So like, don't price yourself at 50 an hour if you can easily get a 100K job. This isn't sales. I'm just talking about general entrepreneurship or general like development company, service company stuff. Um, don't price yourself at what your the salary of the job is if you weren't self-employed. You have to have a higher margin, typically like 30%. And then you adjust for the market and your skills in the market, right? For the types of clients that you're attracting. Depending on your situation and your reputation, you typically want to make it twice as much, right? Just being real, at least. That's super important. And like yeah, you don't want to, if you're getting paid, think about this. If you're going out to start your data engineering consultancy. There's just a lot of guys doing this right now. That's why I'm making videos like this. There's just so many guys that are going out like trying to start companies and things like that. And the main thing that I'm noticing is they don't understand. They're still thinking like employees. They're pricing themselves like employees. They're talking to clients like employees. They're not delegating properly. And delegation automation's all the same. But like they're not, it's not technically the same, but you get what I'm saying. Like they're not actually offloading things. They don't have things going on in the background. They're not able to hire and fire. Firing's probably more important. You learn how to hire through firing. And by the way, I'm like new into that. I'm learning these lessons now when it comes to like all that. But I know about getting shit. That's the stuff. That's why I'm doing this video. Is that I won't do a video about shit I don't know about. So I won't do a video on like, dealing with, 10, 20, 30 employee service business, because I haven't had that, right? I've only had like, like a few, 3 to 4 contractors parallel or something like that. I mean, at the same time. So I can't talk about that, right? But I can talk to you about getting shit because that's what I'm good at. But that's what I see, man. Like people that they're still in their employee brain, and they're going in and they're doing too much, first off, but they're trying to set up um, a business as an employee of their own business. It's an agency thing. It truly is an agency thing. The agency thing is an agency thing. That's all right. I think so. I think so. Yeah. Should I say this one? And that one's not important. I think these are all the conversational notes. Let me go start with a script. As an engineer type, you probably try to answer things too quickly. That's a big one. This is the biggest one. Biggest point here. You probably don't ask enough questions. Show value quickly. Don't assume soft skill betas are actually dumb. Don't lean on your own understanding. Knowing who you're talking to is more important than knowing what you're talking about. Yeah, this one, knowing who you're talking to is more important than knowing what you're talking about. That's super important. And this is a big one that a lot of people aren't going to like. I explained it well. And I'm not saying that, knowing what you're talking about isn't, obviously that's important. But you need to know who you're talking to first. You need to find that out first. It's really important. We often fuck things up because we don't know we're talking to the point man. We don't know we're talking to the one who makes the shot caller. You probably don't ask enough questions. Yeah, answering things too quickly is the curse of the autist. It's the curse of the It's truly the curse of the autist. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, you need to talk from their perspective. Yeah, it needs to be like almost like an autistic tick. Like it needs to be like I don't know, like I don't know anything yet until I know who they are. You need to like have that in your head, and then let that pour out of you because you know shit. You should have confidence in that, but don't like prioritize that over them. They matter more. So you have to truly understand them first and then let all that pour out of you what you know. That's why narcissists are super shitty when it comes to actual, like the irony. People always complain about CEOs and all this, people who genuinely start businesses are typically not like super narcissistic. One, the narcissistic people just destroy everything, right, for themselves. You have these types of operators. They typically get in charge of big businesses. Definitely, I'm not going to say that that isn't true, but they're typically not the founders, the successful founders. Because when everything's about satiating your own, like what you want and protecting that trauma and all that, you just start destroying everything. All right, you have to kind of be less. You gotta lessen that ego. Yes, it's cool that you know everything. All right, I think that's it. I think we covered everything. All right, guys. All right, our RPG, Gus. Sorry, I know DG. I kind of went in on you. Shit, I went for an hour and 30. I gotta like eat food. I gotta like do shit. All right, see ya.